Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today, I'm doing something a bit different. I just kind of want to discuss an idea that or trend I've kind of noticed on the social media spaces. I've started making D&D content, and a lot of it's more player focused, and I've kind of noticed this trend of players looking for builds, and a lot of what's available online is really kind of inconsiderate of the DM perspective. They're often showing you like really cheesy things to do with a certain subclass, and if you are a new player and you're looking through all this, I really encourage you to be considerate that the DM is a player of the game as well, and to kind of be considerate of them. And all because something is really incredibly strong and broken in the game doesn't mean it should be something that you strive for or look for. For example, my favorite class combination in the game is a Shepherd Druid, and I could absolutely cheese the game by summoning just a ton of like Velociraptors, which is something that is recommended by a lot of channels out there, but that just ruins the game. It slows down combat as you have so many turns. Depending on what level you cast it at, you could have a ton of raptors, and like the DM has to keep track. All the other players are waiting for you to individually move and attack with these raptors. So it's not fun for the other players because they're sitting there just waiting for your turn that's taking way longer than it ought to. And it's not fun for the DM because it's just like the action economy, the way it works is the players are kind of expected to win because they have more actions already. The reason why these single monsters and things are so powerful is to make up for the fact that they get less actions than you do. And this idea of the action economy is a really basic idea in D&D for balance. And once you kind of upset that by giving the players more actions, more options, or having summons on their team, it really makes it incredibly difficult for DMs to balance encounters. And if the DMs balance the encounters for you to have all those summons and you don't because you ran out of spell slots, and they're gonna make something that just completely wipes the party, and that's no fun either. We want to make things that are challenging but are still able to be overcome with the resources you have. And occasionally, yeah, we might give you something that we want you to throw the cheese out and have fun with that. And usually like one shots are a really good time for that. It's like, hey, we're doing a one shot. I want you guys to bring the cheesiest builds you can think of, and we'll just kind of get that out of our system. And that's something I like to do when I DM, just to let players kind of explore those really fun, cheesy builds that they otherwise wouldn't play for a long forward campaign because they understand that they're broken and not fun to play long term, but they want to kind of experience it short term. And I can play a Shepherd Druid without doing those. There's a ton of stuff you can do with that class. There's a ton of stuff you can do with other classes that don't involve the incredibly cheesy things. So I just want to encourage players to look for those. And the same thing goes for DMs. Like, yes, can you make encounters that are so incredibly cheesy and impossible that your players will absolutely lose? Yes. Is it fun playing a super adversarial DM? No. D&D is not about winning. It's about making a story. If you want to play a game where the goal is to win, play like a war game, like Warhammer, where the whole point of Warhammer is to beat the other army. D&D is not that style of game. And even in Warhammer, I tend to play more narrative and casual games because it's more fun for me. And if you are looking for that like super competitive gameplay, D&D is really not the game for that. It's not the game for you, and that's okay. Not everything is meant for everybody, and hopefully you find something that you gel with. But if you are choosing to play Dungeons and Dragons, remember that is a cooperative story building game, and that everyone there should enjoy their time. They should all have a chance to build a story they all feel that they contributed to and they all had fun with. So please don't go out of your way to find something really broken or overpowered unless your group as a whole has decided that that's what we're doing for that session, and try to just support and help the other players. I tend to play very support oriented characters because I am typically the most experienced player in my group. So if I'm the DM, obviously I don't have to worry about it, but if I'm a player, especially when I often get asked to kind of play to help out with groups that might have newer players to kind of help teach them rules and things, and just playing something that enables the other players will it just gets people going a lot more. Like, yeah, could I play at a really powerful build? Yes, I understand the mechanics very well, and I could make an incredibly powerful character that really would make it where I could solo probably the adventure without the rest of the party. But what does that do for the new players? It makes them feel useless. Like recently, I talked about this in one of the shorts that came out a little while ago. I played an Order Cleric. Why did I pick an Order Cleric? Because the two new players wanted to play a fighter and a rogue, and I knew that if I played an Order Cleric, I could just cast Bless and let them, as a reaction, hit attacks. And when that rogue got to do 2 sneak attacks in a turn, turn, they felt great. And when the fighter got to get an extra attack, so he action surged, and then he got a reaction attack, he got like 3 actions basically in one turn, and it felt great. They both were having a great time because instead of just making something really cheesy, I built a character that just really highlighted the strengths of my other party members so that they could have an incredible time, and hopefully they'll want to keep playing the game. Because at the end of the day, if we do these things that drive players away, especially new players from the hobby, we're going to get into a situation where you have no one to play with. And as you may know, that is a big problem that you'll see online. A lot of people are like, I really want to play D&D, but I can't find anyone to DM for me. I can't find anyone that wants to play with me. And typically that is because the people in that area who have tried it have had bad experiences, maybe not with you directly, but it's driven them away from that. I think the reason why so many players are afraid to play as a DM is because they're worried about things like cheesy builds, or they're worried about killing their players or making things too difficult, and kind of striking that balance. But if you all come to the table with the mentality that we are trying to create a group session together, and you give the players, if you're a new DM, the ability to kind of help you shape the world and help fill in the gaps. Like often I will do a very improvisational tone, which is what I talked about during my one-shot video. And I will do things like I don't make town names, and I often don't make character names, and I let my players make the characters because I think they'll remember it a lot better if they're the ones that make it. So if it's like a character that really doesn't matter, like it's an innkeeper or the name of an inn or name of a town, and knowing that it's a traveling campaign where they're going to be going there, doing a job and moving on to the next contract, I will absolutely give them that freedom to kind of help build the world, because then it's not my world that they are playing in. It is our world that we are playing in. And I think that's just so incredibly important, just to kind of remember what the goal of the game is. I think we get too bogged down in things like mechanics or things like just my character or my ideas, and we don't consider that it is a collaborative story building game. And the sum of each of our ideas and creative natures will always be greater than what you can think of alone. We all have our weaknesses. No one's perfect, and relying on the strengths of other members in your gaming group will make it where your story, your world is much richer, much more interesting, and they will be more invested, and you will get a better experience overall. So thank you for watching. If you have any interesting ways that you know of that can kind of help build on this idea of the collaborative story building, please share it in the comments below. I kind of would like this video to act as a forum where people can kind of come here and they can see interesting things that they can use at their table. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.